The void near the nebula known as NGC 3324 was usually quiet. It was a place of colorful gas and distant starlight. The ship that moved through it now was called the Harmony of Species. It was the flagship of the Galactic Council. Its shape was smooth and curved, like a seashell or a leaf. It moved silently, powered by engines that hummed softly. On the bridge of the Harmony, the mood was calm. Ambassador Kale, an elderly being with soft blue skin and wise eyes, watched the stars. Next to him was Scholar Vryn. Vryn was from a species called the Gelt. He was thin, and his fingers were always moving over a data screen. He loved facts and numbers. "We are mapping a very empty part of space," Vryn said, his voice a little nervous. "The nebula's radiation makes long scans difficult. That is why we are here," Kale replied gently. "To see the unseen. To understand." Suddenly, a soft chime sounded. A younger officer at a control panel spoke up. "Gravitational anomaly detected. Bearing 7-2-Mark-4. It is very large." Vryn hurried to his own station. His fingers flew. "The mass is incredible. It reads like a small moon, but it is too dense to be natural rock. And it is cold. No thermal signature. No energy emissions. It is just a dark spot." "Show me," Kale said. A main screen lit up. It showed the swirling colors of the nebula. In the middle was a black patch, a shadow that swallowed the sensor light. It was an irregular shape, blurred by the nebula's dust. "It must be a planetoid," Vryn insisted. "A dead core caught in the gas. Our scanners are confused by the nebula's particles." Kale felt a small doubt. The Council had charted thousands of worlds. This felt different. "Move us closer. Use passive scans only. Let us not disturb this place." The Harmony glided forward. Its smooth engines made no sound. As they got closer, the shadow on the screen grew. It blocked out more of the starlight behind it. The bridge crew grew quiet. The usual soft beeps and clicks of the ship seemed too loud. "We are at the edge of the distortion field," the officer reported. "The nebula's interference is clearing. I am attempting a focused scan." Vryn leaned over his screen. His large eyes widened. "The density readings? They are impossible. No known material is that strong. And the shape is becoming clearer. It has lines, straight lines." Kale stood up. On the main viewer, full visual, the screen shifted. The colorful gas was still there, but in the center, the shadow was sharpening. The blurred edges became hard. What had looked like a lumpy rock now showed flat planes and sharp angles. It was a geometric shape, a brutal block of darkness against the cosmic cloud. "It is a structure," someone whispered. Then, the distortion cleared completely. The bridge of the Harmony of Species became utterly silent. Before them, hanging in the silent dark, was a ship. But to call it a ship felt wrong. It was a mountain, a floating fortress. It was all hard edges and flat gray armor plating. It had no curves, no beauty. It spoke only of purpose and weight. It was so big that the Harmony, a large vessel itself, looked like a child's toy next to it. Giant gun turrets, currently silent and cold, dotted its surface. A massive spine ran along its top, hinting at a weapon of terrifying scale. By the ancient songs, Kale breathed, his voice full of awe and fear. Vryn was shaking. His data screen scrolled with frantic, impossible numbers. Length, over 8 kilometers. Mass, comparable to a small asteroid. Primary armor composition, unknown alloy. Power source, undetectable. It is reading as inert. But that is not possible. Something that large cannot be dead in space. The gravity alone would. Life signs? Cale asked, forcing his voice to be steady. None. No energy, no heat, no life. It is a tomb. A scarecrow. Vrin's voice was rising in panic. Just then, a section on the side of the colossal ship lit up. It was a single line of white light, no bigger than a pinprick from this distance. A local space ripple washed over the harmony, making the lights flicker. A voice filled the bridge. It was not loud, but it was everywhere. It was flat, clear, and without emotion. It spoke in perfect galactic trade language. Identify. This is protected Terran space. The words hung in the air. They were not a greeting. They were not a question. They were a command. Panic, pure and simple, erupted on the bridge of the harmony. Officers from a dozen different species gasped or cried out in their own tongues. Some reached for weapons they did not have. Scholar Vrin stumbled back from his console, his data tablet clattering to the floor. The calm, ordered world of the Galactic Council, a civilization built on slow talk and gentle agreement, shattered in an instant. Ambassador Cale gripped the edge of his chair. His heart was pounding. He had faced difficult first contacts before. He had mediated wars. But he had never, in all his long life, felt so small. That ship out there was not just a new neighbor. It was a cliff face against which their peaceful philosophy might break. Silence. Cale's voice, old but strong, cut through the noise. The crew slowly quieted, their wide eyes fixed on him. He looked at the monstrous ship on the screen. Protected Terran space, he repeated. Terran, that is a species name. They have claimed this area, and they are home. He took a deep breath. The first move was critical. They had to answer. They had to show they were not a threat, but they also could not show weakness. Open a channel on the same frequency, Cale ordered. Broadcast the standard first contact package. Include the Council's Charter of Peace. Send it now. The communication officer, a being with long trembling fingers, sent the signal. The package contained greetings in 100 languages, mathematical principles of peace, images of council worlds, and their history of unity. It was a gift of knowledge and friendship. They waited. Seconds felt like hours. The giant ship did not move. It did not respond. It just sat there, a silent, gray monument. Maybe they did not hear us, Vrin whispered, hope in his voice. Then the line of white light on the ship pulsed once. The same flat, clear voice returned. This time, it spoke only 2 words. Stand by. On the bridge of the Earth-Terran ship Mujugay, the mood was very different. The lights were soft and steady. The air was cool. Captain J. Kim sat in his command chair. He was a man with a calm face and watchful eyes. He watched the main screen, which showed the graceful, shell-like alien ship. Report, he said. His voice was quiet. Commander Sumai Park stood beside him. She was looking at a tactical display. The vessel matches no known design in our long-range probe databases. It appears to be a single ship. Its power signature is low and clean, very efficient. Their scan of us was passive until we prompted them. Engineer Dae-Hyen Lee spoke from his station. Their broadcast is a standard first contact package, Captain. Very polite. Lots of pictures of gardens and singing. He sounded slightly amused. They are scared, said pilot Hana Kwan from the helm. Her hands rested lightly on her controls. Their ship jumped when we lit up the identification beacon. J. Kim nodded slowly. He had expected this. Humanity's first meeting with another civilization was not going to be with equals. They had slept for centuries in their solar system, building, preparing, always looking out at the silent stars and wondering if they were alone. They had built the Titan class not for war, but for survival. The Mujige was a message. We are here. We are strong. Do not hurt us. Now, they had to deliver the second part of the message. We do not want to hurt you either. Send the second sequence, Jay said. A cultural and linguistic primer. Then open the forward bay. Deploy Shuttle 1. Commander Park, you have the boarding party. Be calm. Be professional. See what they are. Sumi nodded. Yes, Captain. She turned and left the bridge, her steps firm. On the main screen, the elegant alien ship still waited. Jae Kim leaned back. He thought of Earth so far away. He thought of the generations of work that had built the Mujige. This moment, this first quiet meeting in the dark, was why they had done it all. Not to conquer, but to finally say hello. He just hoped the beings on that beautiful, fragile-looking ship understood that. The silence on the bridge of the Harmony of Species was heavy and tight. The giant ship had told them to stand by. So they waited. No one knew what else to do. Ambassador Kale watched the screen. The monstrous ship was just a dark shape against the nebula. It looked dead, but he knew it was not. Something alive was inside it. Something that called itself Terran. Scholar Vryn picked up his data tablet from the floor. His hands were still shaking. The broadcast we sent. It was received. They are processing it. Their ship. I have never seen anything like it. The power required to move that mass. It defies physics. A young officer spoke, her voice nervous. A signal is coming back from the large ship. It is not a voice. It is a data package. It is very large. Put it through, Kale said. The main screen changed. Instead of the ship, they saw words. Simple words in galactic trade. They were definitions. They saw Earth, human, Terran, peace, greeting. They saw basic grammar rules. It was a language lesson. Mixed with the words were pictures. A blue and white planet. A being with 2 arms, 2 legs, and smooth skin. Cities with tall buildings. Fields of green plants. They are teaching us how to talk to them, Kale said. He felt a small relief. This was a good sign. It was a logical thing to do. Then, something happened on the giant ship. A part of its side, a flat gray area larger than the entire Harmony, began to move. A crack appeared, a straight line of black against the gray. Then the crack widened. It was a door. A huge door. Inside was only darkness. Something is coming out, Vryn whispered. From the darkness, a smaller shape emerged. It moved smoothly into open space. The crew of the Harmony watched their sensors. This new ship was small compared to the giant, but it was still bigger than their own flagship. It was shaped like a sharp knife or a tooth. It was black and had no lights. It turned slowly and pointed right at them. Shields, shouted one of the officers, a militant Throx named Zyle, who was there as an observer. No, Kale commanded, his voice firm. Do not raise shields. Do not power weapons. That is a reaction of fear. We must show trust. Hold position. The knife-shaped ship moved closer. It did not speed up. It did not slow down. It just came. Its smooth, silent approach was more frightening than a fast attack. It stopped a short distance from the Harmony. Then a new voice came over the bridge speakers. It was different from the first flat voice. This one was clear and calm. It was a female voice. Galactic Council Vessel Harmony of Species. This is Commander Sumi Park of the Earth, Terran ship Mujige. We request permission to dock. We wish to meet face-to-face. Please extend your primary docking collar. Kale looked at his crew. Their faces were filled with fear. Docking meant letting them in, letting them inside the ship. He took a deep breath. This was the moment. First contact was not just about signals. It was about looking into another being's eyes. Grant permission, Kale said. Extend the collar. And everyone, be calm. Show our best manners. A long tube extended from the side of the Harmony. The black shuttle moved with perfect precision. It connected to the tube with a loud, solid clang. The sound vibrated through the whole ship. Everyone on the bridge felt it in their feet. It was not a gentle connection. It was a firm, heavy one dot in the docking bay of the Harmony. A group of beings gathered. There was Ambassador Kale, Scholar Vryn, and Counselor Zyle. A few guards were there too, but they were told to stand far back and look peaceful. The air was tense. They watched the inner door of the docking tube. The door opened. There was a hiss of air. Then 4 figures walked out. The first thing the council beings noticed was the size. The humans were tall. Not extremely tall, but they were solid. They wore armor, but it was not bulky. It was smooth and dark gray, like the skin of their ship. It covered them from head to toe. Their helmets were clear, so they could see their faces. The one in front had short black hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. Her face was calm. She was Commander Sumi Park. Behind her were 3 other humans, 2 males and 1 female. They moved together, their steps in time. They stopped a few meters away. Sumi raised her right hand, her palm open and empty. It was a gesture from the data package. It meant peace. "I am Commander Park," she said. Her voice came from her helmet and also from a speaker on her chest. It was the same calm voice from the shuttle. "We come in peace. We thank you for your welcome." Ambassador Kale stepped forward. He made a gesture of his own species, a slow bow of the head. "I am Ambassador Kale. We welcome you to the Harmony of Species and to the community of the Galactic Council. Your ship. It is very impressive." Sumi gave a small nod. "Thank you. The Mujige is a Titan-class vessel. It is made for long journeys and for safety." She looked around the docking bay. Her eyes took in everything. The smooth organic walls, the nervous guards, the curious faces of the different species. "My captain, J. Kim, sends his greetings. He would like to speak with you directly." A small device on Sumi's wrist lit up. A beam of light shot out. It formed a 3-dimensional picture in the middle of the bay. It was the image of a man with a calm face, sitting in a chair. He looked real, but you could see the light shimmering around him. "I am Captain J. Kim," the image said. His voice was warm, but his eyes were serious. "On behalf of Earth and the Terran Soul Federation, I greet you." Kale was amazed. The projection technology was simple but very clear. "Captain Kim, we are honored. Your ship surprised us. We did not know your people were in this sector." "That is by design," Jay said. "We have been quiet. We have been observing, learning. We built our ships to be self-sufficient. We call it strategic depth. It means we can protect ourselves if we are alone." Counselor Zyle, the Throx, could not stay quiet any longer. His species valued strength. "Protect yourselves from what? That ship is not for protection. It is for destruction. It is a weapon of war." The image of Captain J. Kim looked at Zyle. The human's face did not get angry. "It is a weapon of peace," he corrected gently. "The strongest weapon is the one you never have to fire. The Mujige is a message. It tells any who might want to harm us that the cost would be too high. We have had enough war on our own world. We do not seek more." While the leaders talked, Scholar Vryn was not listening. He was looking at the humans. More precisely, he was looking at their shuttle. The inner door of the docking tube was still open. He could see a small part of the shuttle's hull. He held up a small scanning device, hidden in his hand. He took a reading dot The numbers on his device made his heart stop. He blinked, thinking it was wrong. He took another reading. It was the same. He slowly moved closer to Commander Park. He looked at her armor. He took a subtle scan of her wrist plate. His face turned pale. He stumbled back a step, bumping into a guard. Ambassador Kale noticed. "Scholar Vryn? Are you unwell?" Vryn's voice was a shaky whisper, but in the quiet bay, everyone heard it. "The material, the hull of their shuttle, it is the same." "The same as what?" Kale asked. Vryn pointed a trembling finger at the shuttle door, then at Sumi's armor. "The same as the outer armor of the big ship, the Mujige. This shuttle, it is not a separate craft. It is made from the same plates. Its skin is as strong as a battleship's. And her armor, it is a smaller piece of the same material." He looked at the humans with pure terror. They do not just have a big ship. They have a technology that treats that incredibly strong material like common metal. They build small craft out of it. They wear it as clothes. The docking bay went silent again. All the council beings looked at the smooth, dark gray armor of the humans with new understanding. It was not just for show. It was a piece of their warship. Captain J's image watched them. He saw their fear. "We learned to be careful with our resources," he explained softly. "We make our best material in large amounts. We use it for many things. It is practical. Practical." The word hung in the air. To the council, it was not practical. It was unbelievable. It was a show of power so great that they used their strongest defense for everyday things. It meant their big ship was even stronger than they had thought. If this was the small shuttle, what was the big ship really made of? Commander Sumi saw the fear in their eyes. She slowly reached up and touched a seam on her neck. There was a soft hiss. She lifted her helmet off. Her real face was calm. She smiled a small, careful smile. "Please," she said, "do not be afraid. We are here to talk. That is all." But the damage was done. The panic from seeing the giant ship had faded for a moment. Now it came back, deeper and colder. It was not just the size anymore. It was the quiet, terrifying efficiency of it all. The conference room on the Harmony of Species was designed to be calming. The walls were a soft, living moss that changed color slowly. The air smelled like rain. Usually, it was a place for quiet talk and agreement. Today, it felt like a caged-out Ambassador Kale sat at the head of a smooth, round table. To his left was Counselor Zyle, the Throx. His rough, stony skin seemed to bristle. To his right was Scholar Vryn, who kept looking at his datapad, then at the humans, then back at his pad. Across from them sat Commander Sumi Park. She had removed the top part of her armor, wearing only a dark gray jumpsuit. She looked more approachable, but the memory of the armor was fresh in everyone's mind. The image of Captain J. Kim still stood in the center of the room, a shimmering blue figure. He looked patient. "Your explanation of strategic depth is interesting," Kale began, choosing his words with care. "But the Galactic Council has existed for over 1,000 years. We have kept peace through shared laws and mutual understanding. We have no need for such monumental ships. Why did your people choose this path?" On the bridge of the Mujige, Captain J. Kim leaned forward slightly. His image in the conference room mirrored the movement. "Ambassador, our history is different. For a long time, we were not united. We fought each other. When we finally looked to the stars together, we saw nothing but silence. No welcome. No warnings. Just empty space. We asked ourselves, is the silence peaceful, or is it hiding something? We decided to prepare for the something. Counselor Zyle slammed a heavy fist on the table. The soft material absorbed the sound. Prepare? You built a weapon that could crack a planet. Do your people have any idea of proportionality? Of restraint? Sumi Park turned her head slowly to look at Zyle. Her voice was even. Restraint is built into its design, Counselor. The Mujige has rules. Very strict rules of engagement. It cannot fire first. Its systems require multiple human confirmations for any use of primary weapons. We built it to be a wall, not a spear. But why build the wall so high? Vryn interrupted, his voice squeaky. He pushed his datapad forward. Images of the Mujige from the scans floated above the table. The energy cost. The material science. Your civilization must dedicate all its resources to this one project. What of art? Of philosophy? Of growth? A small, genuine smile appeared on J. Kim's projected face. Scholar Vryn, the Mujige is not one project. It is Project 7, of 42. The room went very still. Explain, Kale said softly. Our approach was not to build one perfect ship, Jay said. It was to build a system, a network. The Titan class is the Guardian, yes. But back in our home system, we have great ships that are mobile shipyards. We have vessels that are floating farms, producing food for decades. We have factories that turn asteroids into building material. The Mujige can fight because it never has to worry about running out of food, or parts, or fuel. It is self-sufficient. That is the real strength. Not just the gun, but the ability to stay and protect forever if needed. Vryn's fingers flew over his pad. He was pulling data from the initial scan, from the shuttle, from everything. A network. A system. That would require coordination on a scale. The computing power alone. He muttered to himself. Then he froze. His eyes widened. He had been analyzing the energy readings from the Mujige's main spine, the big weapon. Captain Kim, Vryn said, his voice suddenly quiet and serious. Your main weapon. You called it a kinetic compression lance. My scans. They indicate it does not use plasma or lasers. It manipulates gravity fields, does it not? J. Kim's expression became unreadable. He was silent for a moment. You are a good scientist, Scholar Vryn. Yes, it creates a focused stream of overlapping gravity waves. It does not burn. It compresses. It forces the molecules in its target path to push together until they cannot hold. Vryn stood up. He was shaking again. He looked at Kale, his eyes full of horror. Do you understand? They do not break things by adding energy. They break things by changing the rules of physics locally. It is a weapon that makes space itself hostile to existence. A hit from that would not leave debris. It would leave dense, crushed dust. Counselor Zyle stared at the image of the weapon on the pad. His anger was now mixed with a cold fear. Such a weapon is... It is obscene. It is against the natural order. It is a last resort, Sumi said firmly. It has never been fired outside of a test range. Its purpose is to exist, to make any attacker know that our defense has no limit. But there is more, Vryn whispered. He was deep in his data now, connecting pieces. The shuttle hull, the armor, the weapon. They all use principles of mass and gravity control. This is not many technologies. This is one technology, mastered and applied to everything. He looked at Sumi. Your people did not just become good at building big things. You cracked a fundamental law of the universe and used it to make everything. The humans did not deny it. J. Kim simply nodded. We found one key that opened many doors. We focused on it. We got very good at it. Kale felt a headache forming. This was not a first contact with a young, eager species. This was a meeting with a culture of profound, frightening focus. They had not built a warship. They had built a culture around a single, powerful idea, and the warship was just the most visible result. Your network, Cale said, trying to steer back to something he could understand. These other projects. How many vessels like the Mujige exist? Sumi and the image of Jay shared a look. It was a silent conversation. Finally, Jay spoke. The Titan class is our front line. There are currently 47 in service. More under construction. A number. A simple, terrible number. 47. The Council had maybe a dozen capital ships total, and they were spread thin across the galaxy, meant for show and peacekeeping. 47 planet-cracking fortresses. The panic in the room was no longer noisy. It was a deep, chilling silence. Scholar Vryn sat down heavily. He was looking at a new set of data on his pad. He had accessed the Mujige's public deployment logs, which the humans had left open. It was a list of names and locations. These other ships. Their names. Vryn scrolled. Unbreakable. Mountain Home. Long Watch. Guardian of Soul. Voice of the Void. He looked up. They are all protectors. All watchers. You have a fleet of sentinels. Yes, Jakim said. His voice was softer now. He could see the fear he had caused. We watched the dark for so long, alone. We decided that if anything ever came out of it, we would be ready. We would not be victims. But please understand, readiness is not aggression. We are here, talking. That is what we wanted all along. Counselor Zyle was defeated. His earlier bluster was gone. You bring this power to our doorstep and ask for talk. What choice do we have? You could take anything you want. Sumi leaned forward. We do not want to take anything. We want to give something. We want to give you certainty. You can be certain we will not attack you. Ever. That is what our ships promise. In return, we ask for the chance to learn. To join your community. Not as conquerors, as very careful neighbors. The offer hung in the fragrant air. It was a paradox. They were offering peace, but the proof of their peaceful intent was the most terrifying war machine the Council had ever seen. Ambassador Cale looked from the sincere face of Commander Park to the calm, patient image of Captain Kim. He looked at the crushed expression of Counselor Zyle and the awestruck terror of Scholar Vryn. He understood now. This was not a negotiation about borders or trade. This was a psychological test. The humans were showing them the absolute worst-case scenario of their power, and then politely asking for a glass of water. They were forcing the Council to make a choice. See the weapon, or see the people holding it. Cale was about to speak when a loud, urgent alarm blared through the ship. The soft lights in the conference room flashed red dot. An officer's voice came over the speaker, sharp with fear. Ambassador! Distress call on the Council emergency band. It's a civilian convoy from the system Lyri. They are under attack by a Scourge Raider fleet. They are being torn apart. The Raiders are between us and them. The Scourge. Every being in the room knew the name. A ruthless predatory species that lived to raid and destroy. They were the Council's eternal nightmare, always striking at the weak. Counselor Zyle jumped up, his warrior instinct taking over. We must go. We have to help. Our weapons are weak, but we can distract them. Maybe draw them away. Cale's heart sank. The Harmony was a ship of peace. It had only light defensive weapons. Going against a Scourge Raider fleet was suicide. But he had to try. He turned to the humans. I am sorry. We must cut our meeting short. We have a duty to answer the call. Commander Sumi Park stood up. Her face was all business. She tapped the device on her wrist. Captain? You heard. On the bridge of the Mujige, Jae Kim looked at his own tactical screen. He saw the distress call data, the location of the convoy, the estimated size of the Scourge fleet. He saw the harmony of species, a beautiful, fragile thing about to fly into a storm of teeth. His voice, calm and clear, came through the conference room speaker. Stand by, Harmony. Do not engage. We will handle this. He did not ask for permission. He simply stated a fact. The red alarm lights painted the conference room in pulses of urgent color. Ambassador Kale was already moving, his old body fueled by duty. Counselor Zyle was shouting orders into his own wrist communicator, calling the Harmony's few security officers to battle stations. Scholar Vryn looked frozen, caught between the terror of the Scourge and the giant human ship outside. Commander Sumi Park did not run. She stood straight and spoke into her wrist device. Her voice was clear and quick. Captain, confirmed Scourge threat. 6 raider vessels, predatory pattern. 1 civilian convoy, 3 freighters, 1 passenger barge. Range is 8 light minutes. The Harmony is preparing to intercept. On the bridge of the Mujige, the mood shifted instantly. The quiet calm was replaced by a focused hum. Lights on consoles changed from soft blue to amber. Crew members spoke in short, clipped phrases. Captain Jae Kim watched the tactical map. 6 red dots moved around 4 blue dots. The Scourge ships were like sharp claws on the screen. The Harmony was a green dot, moving slowly toward them. It was a fly heading toward a web of spiders. Helm, plot an intercept course. Maximum safe speed, Jay said. His voice was calm, but it carried across the bridge. Yes, Captain, Pilot Hana Kwan replied. Her hands moved over her controls. The giant ship, which had hung silent in space, began to move. There was no loud roar. A deep, subsonic vibration was felt through the deck as the immense gravity drive engines woke up. On the view screen, the nebula began to slide sideways. Engineer Dehyun Lee watched his power readings. Main drive at 40%. Structural field is holding. All systems green. The big gun is cold and quiet, Captain. Keep it that way, Jay said. This is a police action. We use the secondaries and point defense. Let's show them the stick, not the hammer. Back on the Harmony, the crew was scrambling. They watched in awe as the Mujige, a mountain of metal, began to turn. It moved with a slow, terrible grace. It did not seem fast, but it was covering distance at a rate that made their own ship seem to crawl. They are actually going, Scholar Vryn whispered, watching the sensor screen in the conference room. They said they would handle it, Kale said, his eyes fixed on the image of the departing Titan. We must watch. We must see what handling it means. The Harmony's engines were now at full power, trying to keep up. They followed at a safe distance. The scene ahead was clear on the main viewer. The Scourge raiders were ugly ships, looking like broken teeth and rusty knives. They were circling the civilian convoy, firing low-energy plasma bursts to cripple the engines, not to destroy. They wanted to loot, to take slaves. The lead Scourge ship detected a new contact. It saw the Mujige on its sensors. To the Scourge, size meant little. It meant a bigger prize. It broke away from the convoy, followed by 2 others, and turned to face the approaching human ship. They fired a spread of high-energy plasma torpedoes, their opening move. The glowing balls of fire streaked through the dark. On the Mujige's bridge, a soft chime sounded. Incoming projectiles, Hannah said. Point defense grid. Auto-engage. Jay ordered. What happened next was not a flashy explosion of lasers. Along the flanks of the Mujige, hundreds of small ports opened. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then, a storm of solid metal rods shot out. They were no thicker than a finger, but they were moving at a speed that made them invisible. They crossed the distance to the plasma torpedoes in less than a second. The torpedoes did not explode. They simply vanished in small, sharp puffs of light and gas. The metal rods had punched straight through their cores, disrupting the magnetic fields that held the plasma together. The attack was wiped out before it had come halfway. The Scourge ships paused. This was new. The Mujige did not pause. It kept coming. It was now between the raiders and the civilian convoy. It stopped its forward motion. It simply waited. The lead Scourge raider, angry and confused, fired its main plasma cannon. A continuous stream of superheated fire, capable of melting through a freighter's hull, lanced out and struck the Mujige's bow. On the Harmony, the crew gasped. The human ship took the hit directly. The plasma washed over the gray armor. For a moment, the spot glowed white-hot. Then the plasma flow stopped. The glow faded rapidly. The armor was scorched, blackened in a small patch. It was not breached. It was not even dented. It was like throwing a cup of water against a stone wall. Their heat dissipation. It's instantaneous, Vryn muttered, his scientist mind taking over even in his fear. The energy was absorbed and radiated away across the entire hull surface. The Scourge raiders seemed to realize they had bitten a mountain. They turned to run. They split up, trying to scatter. They are fleeing, Hana reported. Lock secondary batteries on engines and weapons arrays, Captain J said. No core hits. Disable only. Along the sides of the Mujige, larger turrets swiveled. They did not glow. They hummed. They fired. This was not a laser beam or a plasma bolt. It was a pulse, a ripple in space, that was visible as a shimmering wave in the starlight. The pulses were fast and accurate. The first pulse hit a raider's engine cluster. There was no explosion. The engines simply crumpled. They twisted in on themselves like crushed paper, sheared apart by conflicting gravity forces. The ship spun, dead in space. Another pulse hit a raider's weapon turret. The metal compressed violently, then snapped. The turret broke off and floated away. A third raider tried to dodge. The pulse grazed its side. A long, deep gash was torn open along the hull, as if a giant invisible can opener had scraped across it. Atmosphere and debris blew out into the vacuum dot. It was methodical. It was clinical. It was over in less than a minute. 6 Scourge raiders, a threat that would have required a full council battle group to fight, are now floating, helpless hulks. Their weapons were gone. Their engines were dead. They were no longer a threat to anyone. The Mujige hung in the silence. It had not moved from its position. It had not used its main weapon. It had not even raised its strongest shields. It had used what, to it, were small tools. On the bridge of the Mujige, Engineer D. Hyan Lee checked his readings. All targets neutralized. Minor thermal scoring on Section 7 Alpha. No damage. Point defense ammunition expended. 0.001% of reserve. Secondary battery power usage. Negligible. Send a general broadcast to the civilian convoy, Captain J said. Tell them they are safe. Advise them to wait for Council recovery vessels. He paused and opened a channel to the Harmony. Back on the Harmony of Species, the bridge was utterly silent. The crew had just watched a demonstration of power so far beyond their understanding that it felt like a dream. It was not the power that scared them the most. It was the ease, the calm. The humans had not celebrated. They had not gotten angry. They had simply solved the problem. Ambassador Kale's communicator chimed. It was Captain J's voice. Ambassador, the threat is contained. The Scourge vessels are disabled. Your people can take them in for whatever you do with them. The convoy is unharmed. Kale found his voice. It was rough. Captain Kim, we thank you. You saved many lives today. It was the right thing to do, Jay's voice replied, simple and direct. We will return to our previous position. We have more to talk about. The channel closed. The crew of the Harmony looked at each other. The red alarm lights had stopped. The normal soft light returned. But nothing felt normal anymore. Counselor Zyle slowly sank into his chair. The warrior in him was completely defeated. His species respected strength, but this was not strength. This was a force of nature. His people fought with plasma and courage. The humans fought with the laws of physics. Scholar Vryn was staring at the sensor logs of the engagement. They used gravity shears for precision strikes. They can control that power with such finesse. The same force that crushes stars, they used to surgically remove a weapon turret. He looked at Kale, his eyes wide. They were not trying to destroy. They were trying to make a point. Ambassador Kale looked at the view screen. The massive gray form of the Mujage was turning gracefully, moving back toward them. Behind it, the wrecked Scourge ships drifted. In front of it, the civilian convoy's lights blinked with thanks. He understood the point completely. The humans had shown them two things. First, they had the power to erase problems. Second, and more importantly, they had the choice not to. They had used the minimum force needed. They had protected the weak. They had followed their own rules. The panic was still there in Kale's heart. But now it was mixed with something else. A desperate, fragile hope. Maybe, just maybe, such careful power could be a good thing in a dangerous galaxy. He knew the next conversation would be the most important one in the history of the Council. They had to decide if they could live next to a neighbor who kept a Star Destroyer in their garage, but only used it to help fix a broken fence. The Mujage slid back into its position beside the Harmony of Species as smoothly as it had left. There were no scorch marks, no signs of battle. It was just a silent gray mountain once again. The difference was in the minds of those who looked at it. Before, it was a mystery. Now it was a known, terrifying fact. On the Harmony, Ambassador Kale took a long moment to prepare himself. He looked at his council. Scholar Vryn was hunched over his datapad, his mind racing with numbers and theories. Counselor Zyle sat with his head in his hands, the fight gone from him. The bridge crew moved quietly, their eyes flicking to the giant ship on their view screen with a mixture of fear and awe. "Open the channel again," Kale said, his voice tired but firm. To Captain Kim, the image of Captain J. Kim appeared once more in the conference room. He looked the same as before, calm, patient, watchful. But now his calm felt different. It was not the calm of emptiness. It was the calm of deep, still water that goes down for miles. "Captain," Kale began. He struggled for words. "What you did. You saved many beings today. The Galactic Council owes you a great debt. But I must speak plainly. You have also shown us a power that disrupts everything. Our entire community is built on balance. Your ship and the others like it are not a balance. They are a cliff." J. Kim nodded slowly. He seemed to have expected this. "I understand your fear, Ambassador. Truly, from your view, we are an unstable element. A wild storm that has entered your quiet harbor." "Yes," Kale said, relieved at the understanding. "You speak of protection and peace. But peace that comes from overwhelming force is not the peace we know. It is a silence imposed by fear. Is it?" Jay asked. His image shifted slightly, as if he was leaning forward. "You saw the Scourge. You fight them all the time, yes? A constant border war. Lives lost. Convoys threatened. A low, steady fear that never goes away. He paused. What if that fear could go away? Counselor Zyle looked up, his eyes sharp. What are you suggesting? I am not suggesting we conquer the scourge for you, Jay said quickly. That is not our place. I am asking you to consider a new idea. For 1,000 years, your peace has been a careful agreement between species who are roughly equal in strength. It is a good peace, but it is a fragile peace. It cannot stop predators like the scourge. You can only manage them. He let the words hang in the air. Our cliff, as you call it, is not here to tip over your boat. It is here to break the waves before they reach you. You asked why we built it. The answer is simple, so that no one ever has to feel as small and scared as we did when we looked into the silent dark. Commander Sumi Park, who had been quiet, spoke now. She had remained in the conference room. You are afraid of our power because you think it will be used. We are offering you the opposite. We are offering you the certainty that it won't be. We will sign any treaty, make any promise. We will place our ships under observation. Send an observer to Earth, to our shipyards. Do not look at our weapons. Look at our homes. Look at our children. Scholar Vryn finally put his datapad down. Observation? He asked. His scientific curiosity piqued. You would allow that? Of course, Jay's image said. We have nothing to hide. Only things to show. We want you to see that the Mujige is not what we are. It is what we made. What we are is the people who built it not because we love war, but because we love our home enough to do anything to keep it safe. We think all homes deserve that. The offer was so bold, so unexpected, that it left the council members speechless. They were expecting demands for territory, for a seat of power, for tribute. Instead, the humans were offering transparency. They were offering to be watched. You would. Let us go to your home? Kale asked, disbelief in his voice. One observer. On a human ship, you can choose someone. They will see everything. Our farms, our cities, our schools, our shipyards. They can talk to anyone. They can send reports back to you. All we ask in return is the same. The same? Let one of us come here, Sumei said. Let me, or someone else, learn about your council. Your history of peace. Your arts, your philosophy, the things you have built with 1,000 years of cooperation. That is what we want. Not your space. Your knowledge. It was a trade, but not of goods. It was a trade of trust. A dangerous, fragile trade. Kale looked at his colleagues. Zyle gave a slow, grudging nod. The humans had power, but they were not acting like conquerors. They were acting like very cautious librarians. Vryn was practically vibrating with excitement at the idea of seeing human technology up close. Who would you send? Kale asked. Datsumi smiled. With your permission, Ambassador, I would like to stay. I have already begun to learn your ways. I can be the link. And for our observer, Kale's eyes moved over his crew. They landed on Scholar Vryn. The scientist was afraid, but his hunger for knowledge was greater than his fear. Scholar Vryn, you have studied them since the beginning. You have the best mind for this. Will you go? Vryn's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at the image of Captain Kim, then at the massive ship out the window. He thought of the wonders he could see, the science he could learn. He swallowed hard and nodded. I will go. A new silence fell, but this one was different. The sharp panic was gone, replaced by a nervous, buzzing uncertainty. It was the feeling of taking a first step on a bridge that looked strong, but had never been tested. Then we have an agreement, Ambassador Kale said. A mutual observation. A first step. Captain J. Kim's image smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. Thank you, Ambassador. You are not just welcoming a new species today. You are proving that your peace is stronger than fear. He turned his head slightly, speaking to someone off-screen. Prepare Shuttle 2 for passenger transfer. Scholar Vryn will be coming aboard. The meeting ended. The image of J. Kim faded. In the conference room, the council beings let out a collective breath they didn't know they were holding. Hours later, Scholar Vryn stood in the docking bay once more. He had a small bag of personal items. He was saying goodbye to Ambassador Kale. I will send reports every day, Vryn promised, his voice small. Learn, Vryn, Kale said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Learn not just about their machines. Learn about them. Why they are the way they are. That is the most important data. A human shuttle, different from the first, docked with the Harmony. This one was plain and white. The door opened. A young human man in a simple uniform stood there. He bowed slightly. Scholar Vryn? I am Pilot Minsu. Welcome. We are ready when you are. Vryn took a deep breath. He stepped across the threshold from the smooth, organic world of the Harmony into the clean, geometric interior of the human shuttle. The door closed behind him. At the same time, in a quiet room on the Harmony, Commander Sumi Park was given a small device. It allowed her to access the ship's public databases. Its history, its art. She sat down, a cup of the strange earth tea beside her, and began to read about 1,000 years of galactic peace. On the bridge of the Mujige, Captain J. Kim watched on a screen as Shuttle 2, with their first alien guest, entered the main hangar bay. He saw the tiny figure of Scholar Vryn step out, looking around in wonder at the immense, orderly space. Pilot Hana Kwan smiled. He looks small. He is, Jay said. But so were we once. Alone in the dark, he turned from the screen and looked at the view screen with a beautiful, fragile harmony of species hung beside them like a delicate seashell. Now we turn on the light, slowly, very, very slowly. The two ships, so different, stayed there near the nebula. One was built for peace through agreement. The other was built for peace through overwhelming preparation. They were starting to talk. The panic of the council had not disappeared, but it had begun to change shape. It was no longer the fear of a predator. It was the nervous, hopeful, awestruck feeling of someone who has just met a giant and discovered the giant speaks in a whisper and wants to be friends. The galaxy had just gotten much bigger and much more strange. And for the first time in a long time, for the beings on both ships, the future felt completely unknown and full of possibilities.